B. Shaffer. Jack is his nickname. 4770 Fernie Street, Holt, Michigan 48842. Jack's phone number is 699-2266. The recording was made on 6/18/1990 at the Oldsmobile History Center in Lansing at 4000 North Grand River by Jim Walkinshaw. This is tape number 1 of 2 tapes. Okay, Jack, if you could just start with your name and your address and your phone number, please.
This is John B. Jack Shaffer, 4770 Fernie Street in Holt, 48842.
And what's your phone number down there?
699-2266.
All right.
All right.
Have you got a place in Florida too?
No, we don't have any other places.
Okay, so that's it. Why don't you take us back to when you started, where you were and what you were doing and when that was?
I started in April of 1946 in sheet metal, riveting gas doors on the fenders.
Really?
Then I went over into the paint shop and was hanging hood emblems, hood ornaments on the hoods.
Okay.
Then I started driving off the final.
All right.
Worked over off the final paint.
Driving out, where were you
Out
going
to the shipping or back to repairs, etc.
Okay.
Back to the painting shop.
All right.
Right.
Where was the, when you were doing the welding or the riveting, where was that being done?
Spot welding in sheet metal in the old 27, wasn't it?
Oh, back there? Okay.
Yeah,
27.
right.
Okay.
Right.
And did you, what you have, a little hand spot welder or was it
A little gripper that just slapped them on there.
You,
Pulled the trigger.
you all by yourself or was a whole bunch of guys doing
All
this?
by myself on a line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a fender line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they would go from there to the paint shop?
Yeah.
Is that where
They would go over to the bonderizer. Yeah.
Okay. And then the driving activity that you were doing, the end of the assembly line was located somewhere. Do you remember about?
Well, I can't remember the name of the building, but they had truck repair moved in there after they moved the assembly over into,
Okay, and then.
what was it, 32?
Yeah, the quote, new building.
32, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then when we moved over to there, we drove off the west end of the building out.
Okay, under the bridge, right?
Under the bridge, right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did you go out there from the old building, assembly line too? You went out in that same area?
We used to go over into 32 where they put the assembly plant. They had
Oh,
storage and what have you up in there, and
So
they
you-
went from there out.
you parked your cars in the building? there.
Right, right.
They were shipping out of that building at that time?
That's correct. Earl Cunningham was the charge of the shipping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you park on both floors, or where did you?
Oh
go?
yeah, we went up both floors.
Uh-huh.
Right. Had a big ramp there where we went up.
All right. How many, do you remember how many drivers you had? You were working in that area?
Oh boy. We had about 4 off each line. We had 2 paint finishing lines there, and had 4 off each line.
Mhm.
One time I drove off there with John Dykstra.
Really? What was he doing?
He was going to school and working during the summer.
Oh, okay. So he was just in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we drove off one summer together.
How many cars an hour or a day, or how often did you have to drive? Just as fast as you could get over and come back?
They were running about a car every minute and a half off the line, each line.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, how did you get back from the storage building?
We walked.
Just walked?
We
You didn't have a
walked.
driver that picked you up and carried you back?
Oh, no, you drove to wherever they had to go and walked back.
Okay.
A lot of times See, the old factory garage was in that building too.
Okay, yeah. That was the building 19 then, or
They used
25.
used to go take cars there and around to the ding shop and around to motor repair and the sewing room, what have you.
So you had all those stickers you had to read on
You're right.
the windshield.
Right. When you got the final sticker, well, then you took them over into the shipping area.
Anybody ever have an accident?
Well, I don't ever remember of any.
So they were reasonably good drivers, so to speak.
Right. Right. Yeah, I don't ever remember any accident. Well, I remember once was a lift truck went into one of them, but other than that.
That's kind of embarrassing.
Right.
Okay, so keep going. What happened after your driving experiences?
Well, I got the call to go over and see Ed Warner.
Okay,
They needed a tour train driver,
all right. Ed Warner was in,
public relations,
okay,
and I went over there, and Mac McFarland was in charge of labor relations then, and I had to go see him, and they said, well, we'd like you to drive the tour train,
okay,
and you will work for Tom Hendy up on the 3rd floor in the exhibit display department.
all right.
So that's how I got up there.
That's how you got started? Had you applied for that, or
No,
just out of the blue?
out of the blue.
All right,
And so we drove the tour train and the bus, and then I was a radio operator on the B-17 in World War II, and I knew about the sound, and so I started running the sound equipment in the auditorium
okay.
when I wasn't driving the tour train or working on displays.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, when did this happen, kind of? What year?
What year? 1951.
51, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
1951. And
So you stayed on the car assembly plant until 51?
right. That's how I knew Mike Minnow and those people.
Ah, I see. Did you get to know Mike Minnow at all out there?
Not very well.
Did anybody know him?
Oh, sure.
I mean,
You know, he also had his money in the dealership over to Mason.
no, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's one reason I got to know him, because I lived in Mason.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
And I bought my first car, 1950 Olds, out there.
All right.
Yeah. But, yeah, then we
Now, the tour train that you had then, was that,
had one train then.
okay, the so-called Rocket Special?
The Rocket Special. And we also had a bus.
All right. One bus?
One bus.
All right.
And we would drive the tour train and take the people back on the bus when the weather was inclement.
Yeah.
When the weather was right, we picked them up there at Elm Street
Okay.
and took them back to Elm Street
By train?
by train. But if the weather was bad, I'd break the bus and park it over at the west end of the final,
Yeah.
and we'd load them on the bus and take them back.
Okay. Was that a two-time-a-day tour or one-time-a-day?
That was two-time-a-day tour at that time.
All right.
Right.
Who did you have in the back of the train?
Monty Childs.
Monty was the tour director.
Monty was a tour guide. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And he gave, what to do, give a little,
He gave a spiel, go all the way around. The number of people we had working at General Motors, the Oldsmobile assembly plants in Nottingham, Framingham.
all these places.
Right.
So did you and he have to stay together from the standpoint of time and words, so that you, how did he do that? So that the words matched what you were seeing?
Oh, yes, right. Well, you know, we start out in the engine plant,
Okay.
and go down through back end of 40, not 40, next one over.
Okay.
56,
Press plant.
press plant.
Yeah.
Go out there and then we go up the hill.
Yeah, right.
Right along the track and up the hill,
Uh-huh.
over into the assembly line.
Never have one die on you?
Never. Changed the battery in the morning. And he made sure it was working.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ran the choo-choo train and worked on exhibits.
Right.
Oh, what kind of things did you get to work on an exhibit?
Build displays.
For what?
For what? Color and trim displays and engine displays, turntables.
Okay.
And back in those days, we built props, and built big backdrops on the stage for taking pictures for advertising and
All right.
catalogs and what have you.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember once we built, we got a scrim that was 40 feet long and 18 feet high, one piece.
Holy gee.
And we stretched that out and painted it
How did you ever handle it?
very carefully. Well, we got those bats up in the stage.
Okay.
So you put it on a frame,
Yeah.
built a big frame,
Stretch it out?
stretched it out, and pulled it up on the bat, had it standing there. That was a big one.
And what do you do with it when you're done?
Scrap it out.
Throw it away.
Well, it wasn't any good for anything.
Yeah. Didn't take it off, roll it up and save it.
It was painted. You know what happens if you roll up paint?
Yeah.
And if you needed another one next year, you got another piece of scrim. Came out of a place out of New York. I forget the name of the outfit, the material.
Mhm.
But it's a good friend of Tom's.
Oh, yes. Okay.
He used to get a lot of stuff from there. We used to do the Building 60 Christmas display
The one out in front of the building?
out in front of the building.
Yeah.
And he used to go through those people and get lights, box after box of lights and what have you. And it was cheaper to get a new set of lights than to repair an old one.
No kidding. Now, how'd you get that stuff all up there on the building?
There was 3 winches fastened up on the roof,
That hung over the side?
hung over the side, and we put a cable on there and tie them off, bring them up,
Oh, okay, so it was all,
crank them up.
it was a hand winch.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
We didn't have any power wrenches in those days.
No power winches. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'd set the turntable up out in front, put cars on the turntable
Uh-huh.
at Christmas time.
What'd you do at the bottom to keep things from blowing away?
They were heavy enough you anchored them down. If you mean on the building?
Yeah.
Oh, we took wires and tied them back into windows.
Okay. So it wouldn't flap in the breeze.
Right. Yeah, we don't go up there and go in. We do this on a Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody working,
So
so,
you didn't have to use great long ladders to reach up here and there?
well, a few, but not too much. Did it mostly going up. Well, we'd tie a wire or a rope onto the wires. We went back around the ends of the building.
Yeah.
But in the center, you reach right outside and pull them in.
Okay.
Right.
And how did you get your car up on the turntable?
Ramp it up there.
Drive up to the...
Drive up the steps, ramp them up the steps,
Okay.
then back the back end off to the north and put the ramps up and run it up there.
So they'd go up the steps okay if you put a board on it or something?
Well, we used regular ramps, yeah. Like car ramps that you use in the car hall.
Oh, so it wasn't the same angle as the stairs? It came
No,
up quite a ways?
yeah.
No.
There was, 2 or 3 landings going up there.
Yes.
Yeah. There was 2 or 3 graduations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all this time you're working on the building 64?
Building 64, 3rd floor.
Yeah, right. Now, what happened on the 3rd floor? Well, was that a good place to work?
Sure. It was a good place to work. We had the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
We did, in back of the auditorium, we had the shop, the saws, the welding booth, machine shop, and we shared the paint shop with engineering
Okay,
on the west end.
all right.
And we had a big, what we called the morgue back there, where we stored stuff we didn't want to walk off. We had a chain link fence to the ceiling,
Okay,
and then we had a dark room in there where we stored all our curtains from stage, and we used to haul around with that.
okay.
And in between the office and the morgue on the north side was the transmission training room,
Really?
right?
Who ran that?
Engineering had that.
Oh, okay. Right.
I saw Carl Thielen Sunday, and he was an instructor there.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I saw Carl Thielen the other night. He was one of them. Well, there was 2 or 3 that had been in there.
So that was right in the middle of your area, kind of.
Right? Right, just right directly west side of the auditorium on the north side to the
Okay.
wall. But that didn't last too long
Okay.
because eventually Tommy Tompkins reliability came in there.
Okay. Do you remember about when that happened?
Oh, I couldn't. That's when we moved out.
Yeah.
That's when we moved to Porter Street, 1959.
59?
Yeah. 1959 we moved to Porter Street. But we used to set up all the youth talent shows in the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
First it was just one side, and it got so it was on both sides. It got big enough to be on both sides.
Okay. The auditorium use sort of went down for some reason.
Well, engineering took over the west end
Okay.
for
So we
storage, and
lost it.
offices, and
Uh-huh.
what have you. And then they built that big elevator and tower on the
Mm-hmm.
north side of the stage for emission control or something.
Yeah, for storing cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put them in there. And eventually, in the East Auditorium, I can't think of what group it was that they moved in there. Werner,
Oh, yeah, the
And,
cost guys.
yeah,
Yeah, Bob Werner.
yeah, Bob Werner.
Yeah.
And we had to put a sprinkling system in.
Okay.
But I don't know who's got it now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all offices, I understand now.
Was that place air conditioned when you first got there?
What's
The
air
auditorium.
conditioning? Yes, it was.
Was it?
Yeah, and they had put in the escalators
All right.
because we had several occasions where the air conditioner didn't work. And finally, they put the signal lights on the steps on the south side,
Yeah.
so you know whether the air conditioner is working or not.
Oh, without having to arrive there. Okay.
Yeah, we had a couple of good ones on that.
So now you mentioned you were up in the projection room doing stuff up there.
Yeah,
You were a projectionist?
well, we did the projection
Okay.
and taping and playing back, and many, many weekends I sat there taping Mr. Wolfram rehearsing his speeches.
On the stage? He'd be on the stage?
We would have the podium set up for him to be talking, and we were the only 2 people there.
You and he?
I was in the booth and he was on the stage
Uh-oh.
rehearsing his speeches, and we'd tape them and play them back, and we'd tape them and play them back, and we'd tape them and play them back.
And what was he doing all this time? Just,
This is after he became general manager.
yeah? He's just practicing?
Mr. Wolfram was a very poor speaker when he first took over the job.
He was.
So he had David Mactell was his instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and many Saturdays and Sundays we just spent the whole day just taping and talking and playing back. Not many people know that. But
Sounds like fun.
not many people know that, but
Uh-huh. Did that go on the whole period of time, Jack, or was that just an early occurrence with him?
all the time he was the general manager.
Uh-huh.
Right. As a matter of fact, we ended up getting a sound engineer to work with him.
Okay.
That's all he did.
What did the sound engineer do?
He would just run the sound system for us, for the PA systems and for
Record?
turntables,
Uh-huh.
and record for Wolfram and go on the road with him, set up the, when Mr. Wolfram went on the road, he carried his own sound system.
Okay.
And Tom Hendy used to go with him until Chuck Stanford came in.
Mm-hmm.
He was the man they hired.
Okay.
And then he would go. I remember once we had a dealer announcement show in Detroit. We were setting up in the dining room, and Mr. Wolfram came in to rehearse, and we weren't quite done. We was working, and he says, "Jack, get everybody out of here. You know I don't want anybody in there when I rehearse."
So?
I'm gonna.
So you did?
If I tell you one, will you? I can tell you one good one.
Okay.
In New York, Maxie Hodge run our dealer announcement shows, writer and whatever. And we were having a rehearsal. And all of these actors and actresses, they'd invite all their friends for the rehearsal. And Max would go and bring people in off the street.
Just sit in there and watch? Okay.
And this was way back when Mr. Wooten first started. And he would smile. He had them on film, see? And he would smile, grin, and laugh. And before long, the audience was just going up in the air, just raising them. And they stopped the show right there. They stopped the film right there. And Maxie got up there and he says, "People, this is a presentation by the general manager to his dealers out on the road. Now, if you don't like what you see, we'll take it off." And the next day, it was in the Broadway paper.
Really?
General manager stops show. Oh, I'll never forget that.
Well, what was the problem?
Well, he would laugh or grin or in his speeches, and it got so some of the faces he made were just
funny, huh?
Yeah. But that was
Gracious sake. Huh. Okay.
down in Atlanta. We did the show, dealer show. We set up an engine, one of the V8 engines,
Yeah.
and we had to move that engine 2 foot.
2 whole feet. Okay.
Just to please Mr. Wolfram.
All right. I assume you moved it.
We did, oh yes. Another time we setting up a Chicago Auto Show. That was the year they come out with a Tornado. And we were like here, and Buick was like over here. And so we had a Tornado and a Riviera sitting right out to each other.
Oh, yeah.
The Riviera was $2,000 cheaper. So we had to move that car. Before we got done, we changed every car but one.
You kept shuffling.
And we had a 3-car turntable then.
Okay.
One car to turntable, we didn't move.
Uh-huh.
But that was something else. And this was like 2 hours before the show started.
Oh, my Lord.
They'd always come in about 2 or 3 hours before the show started and look things over and make the changes.
Nice.
But we moved every car but one. We had 18 cars in that show.
Oh, my gosh.
That was on account of price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then 1957, Earl DeVinny was our supervisor.
Okay.
And he had enough. You want me to tell you why?
Okay. Sure.
You want me to tell you why?
Yeah, sure.
We did everything. Anything that anybody else didn't want to do except this way did it, right? Remember where Vans Hardware used to be down there in East Michigan?
Yeah.
In Grand? That was set up for Republican headquarters one year. And Mr. Mahoney was a very good Republican. So we went down and curtained the place off. And Bill Mahoney come in, he said, "Move this and move that and move this." And then he said, "God damn it, I don't have to take this stuff." He says, "Here we are doing this, and we're doing it for the Republican Party." He says, "Tomorrow morning I'm putting in my resignation."
Really? He'd had it, huh?
Yeah. And then I got the job.
Oh. So
1957.
there was a good thing in the end result, anyway.
in 1957 when I got the job.
Okay.
But we had a lot of people come and go in that place. You knew Ryan Janetsky.
Oh,
He was
sure.
our draftsman once.
How was it?
Ted Munn was our draftsman once.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people came through that place.
How would you characterize the job for the bunch and exhibit? Is that a tough, easy, whatever?
It was a good place to work. Tom Hendy was a very Englishman, and we did it the right way, the wrong way, the Hendy way, but we always got the job and got it done.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of time we build up displays, and they take one look at them and throw them out. They don't do that anymore because it costs too much money.
Yeah.
But back in those days, it was a little different. Yeah.
Interesting.
And, well, we've been at the top and we've been at the bottom, depending on the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what did happen as things went like that?
A lot of times, people say, well, we think you would be doing more business, but when money got tight, one time we were down to 12 people. One time we had 65 people. During the summer when we had a marketing conference in Lansing.
Where'd you draw your people from?
Like in the skilled painters or something, we'd get them from the paint shop.
The production paint shop?
From production paint shop. And sheet metal people we'd get from production.
Okay.
When we threw our rush or whatever, they go back. But eventually, some of them stayed on. Yeah. And a lot of times, the summer we had everybody working, we had a lot of sons and relatives of people
Okay.
in the personnel department, in the sales department.
Okay. Sounds like the friendly helper for everybody.
That's right. But you know, that's when we had people cleaning cars, doing cars.
Yeah.
Remember those old chairs we used to have?
Yeah?
Those old wooden chairs?
In the auditorium, you mean?
Yeah, one year we painted all those chairs black. We must have had half a dozen kids doing that.
Those chairs were different heights?
Yeah, they were 5 heights.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 of them, 2 of them were floor level, and you had 3 different little steps on them.
Okay. They were just extended. Did you guys do that, or did you buy them that way?
They bought them that way.
They already were that way.
I don't know whatever happened though. We used to have a whole big box put in a big half-inch table with spittoons in them.
Okay.
When they used to have those meetings, they used to have those spittoons in the place.
Oh,
They were brass too.
is that right?
I don't know whatever happened to those.
Who cleaned those babies out?
Old George Pearson was the janitor.
He got the
And
job.
Sam Washington was his helper. Yeah.
Tell me about running the projection booth.
Well, we would, back in those days, in the early 50s, we didn't have any auditorium downtown. We didn't have any civic center.
Okay.
So we would have Chamber of Commerce meetings. We'd have all kinds of style shows. As I told you before, the Youth Talent Show.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have all those things in there, as well as our own shows with the Executive Club and Girls Club, those things.
Okay.
SAE meetings.
All right.
And we would set up for them. And sometimes you had warning, sometimes you didn't. We had 2 spotlights up in the booth. We had 2 35s. And we had 2 16s up there.
Okay.
And we had a Altec sound system, 2 big tape recorders.
Mm-hmm.
You could record and play back. And, but sometimes I'd work 2 or 3 nights a week on outside parties in that place.
Did one guy run the whole thing, or did it
Well,
take
you'd have a
many
person on the
people?
stage, and you'd have a person on the stage for the lights.
Okay.
And one person up, well, depending if you're going to have spotlights. Back in those days, we had to hire a spotlight on.
Oh, you had to hire one, you said?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, depending on the program.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah. A lot of time we what is it, IATSC or ITASC, whatever it is.
Some union thing.
Theatrical union.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we used to have to take a sound man and a prop man on us when we went on an announcement show from Lansing. For years. Then they dropped that.
Oh, okay.
Finally. Yeah. We used to have the business agent, it was Roy Bennett's, and then we'd have the little guy that used to be the stage manager, Bert Carpenter, he went on several trips. Yeah. Yeah.
Did it get hot up there in the
Oh, yes.
projection room?
Yes. You didn't have any air up in there.
Yeah.
You turned the fan on and hoped you could draw some of the air out of the auditorium.
See, those were all big old carbon lamps, weren't they, or something?
Yeah, they were carbon lights. Yeah. And the arcs were carbons. The spotlights were
Okay.
carbons. Yeah.
So, how did you start one of those?
You turn on your power, and
Yeah.
you strike your arcs together, and then part them.
So you had little levers you could pull?
Yeah, you have for your positive and your negatives.
Yeah.
They're a DC.
Oh, it's a
And the 35s were DC arcs.
So how did you ever get that arc adjusted right? How did you know where to set it?
How did
Once you struck it?
Well, you got a prism light in there where you watched.
You watch for color?
Yeah. And then you just watch how it glows and keep adjusting it.
You had to keep doing it during the length of a show? You had to
Yeah.
keep screwing around with that?
All right. If you didn't, that didn't move automatically in those old machines.
Yeah.
So you had to keep adjusting, keep them coming together.
If you didn't, what happened? It
Go
would
out.
quit? It would just quit?
If your arc got too far apart, it'd go out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we moved over to Porter Street, and we still run the auditorium.
Okay. Now you're a million miles away.
Many miles away, yeah. We left the janitor over there.
Okay.
Whenever we wanted something, we'd go over. By this time, the engineer had taken over the west end.
All right.
Yeah, the engineer had taken over the west end then.
To go back to the stage part of the thing, what did you have on stage, Jack, that was available to you? You had a lot of curtains that you could
Well, you
raise
had
up and down.
curtains and lights. We had, 4 sets of travelers.
Okay. What's a traveler?
Well, the opening, closing curtains.
Okay, sideways.
So, yeah, right.
Okay.
And then we had the lights overhead. We had 2 big banks we could control.
Okay. Was that all done from the backstage?
On the
or-
board, yeah, on a board on the backstage, yeah.
Okay.
And then sometimes we would throw in an auxiliary unit. We wanted more lights to adjust more lighting in it. We had a couple of dealer announcement shows in there back in Mr. Wolfham's days.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Before the Civic Center.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the first show in the Civic Center was one of our dealer shows.
Was it?
Yeah.
Neat.
They came up there upstairs in the auditorium and put a bunch of drops and vats together
Uh-huh.
and took them down there.
Yeah.
And we had to put big man blower fans up in there in order to keep the best stage area. There was never any air conditioning in that place.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we had those big fans, we had to put them up on top of the stage manager's booth and on top of the building faces up there to keep the place cool for the actors.
How come they didn't air condition that place?
I wouldn't know anything about that. But they never did,
Yeah.
Well, finally they did, but
Yeah.
it was long, years later.
Yeah.
Years. But we used to have color shows. When I say color shows, we would have the arcs working, and we had 4 banks of lights in the auditorium,
Right.
plus the footlights, and we had a turntable in the center of the stage.
All right.
And we used to do color shows for engineering, for the general manager and people to look at, and
That's what
advertising agency would come in and look at the cars.
they would decide if they like that color or not? Is that what
Yes,
they're doing?
right. Right, they paint these cars out on production.
Mhm.
Sometimes they paint them right there at engineering. And they would bring them out there, and then for announcement time, they would bring in the agency, advertising agency, and show them the new car colors and give them a spiel about all the changes and everything in there. Yeah,
Okay.
they would bring them in for that.
Now, some of these, Jack, you had, I don't know, I guess there were the announcement shows where you had people like Florence Henderson.
Yeah, we had Florence. Matter of fact, Tom and Janet and Joe and I went down to Flint a couple years or so and saw Florence and her children
At some kind of a show there?
at the Flint Theater there.
Oh, yeah,
The,
okay.
what's the name?
Yeah, that's okay.
But they, well, it's been more than a couple years, it's been several years ago.
Yeah,
But Tom was a great friend of Florence. One year we built a boom. It had to be pretty near 25, 30 feet long.
okay.
And we put a counterbalance on the other end of it. And they put her on the end of that boom and swung her right out over the audience.
Okay.
And she remembered that when we were down there at that theater the other night. Star Theater, is it? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
And she remembered that. She says, this man can do anything.
How did that boom run, Jack? What ran it?
Pardon?
What ran the boom? Lifted it?
A man on the other end
Oh.
with a counterbalance.
It was manhandled all
Yeah,
over?
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
A man on the other end, stage end of the end, worked the
You swung her
pivot.
out?
Yeah, pivot.
Uh-huh.
It would pivot up and down and
Yeah.
around.
Sounds like a little risky. Did you
I'll-
tie her in?
Just strapped her in.
So she was strapped
Yeah,
in, so she
right.
wouldn't fall out.
Yeah, one year we rigged up a line and for the dealer show and put a rocket up in the southeast corner and run it down into the engine on the stage.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Who dreamed up all these things?
Well, Maxie would dream up these things. Then after Max left, it was Frank Egan.
Okay.
And they would say, we want to do this, we want to do that. Can we do it? And Tom Henry said, we can do anything. All it costs is money.
Okay.
And we did it.
That was generally true, huh? There
That's
wasn't
true.
anything you didn't try.
We could do anything. All it costs is money.
Okay.
You bet.
The boom thing where you swung around, did you paint that black or something? so
Yeah,
didn't
it was
show
black.
up?
It was black.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So she just kind of floated out there?
She just kind of floated right out over there.
Uh-huh.
And a couple of years we built ramps where we run cars down through the audience.
Oh?
I'm glad nothing ever went wrong with that. One year I was driving one of them.
Oh. Where did you actually start the car, or you just were?
Yeah, we started the car and drove right off. We built a ramp
Uh-huh.
out there 50 feet. Of course, we had the lights all along the edge of the ramp.
Yeah.
Wrapped it down and took it right on out.
Oh, my goodness. Uh-huh.
Oh, there's a couple of times they were close.
Never lost anybody.
Never lost anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Jeepers. Jim, I don't know.
What do you think maybe was your most interesting experience you had out at one of those things?
We worked all night, putting in the curtains and everything in the auditorium for a dealer announcement show.
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning, we were still hanging curtains, just finishing up. JFW come in and he says, don't you know I'm going to rehearse and get everybody out of here? And we weren't done yet.
Okay.
But one of the best ones on that line of thing, we was out at Tahoe
Okay.
for a dealer show. And Howard Carroll, first year. We had the deck that we had to put down on that place. Now that, I mean, it was a plywood 6-inch deck.
Uh-huh.
with a turntable in the middle.
Okay.
So we spent all night putting that in. It was coming 10 o'clock, we were going to do the show. And Howard Carroll is out there making his speech, and we're still hooking up CO2 tanks for the first reveal.
Good luck. I think you made it.
Oh, we made it. We never missed. You wonder sometimes if we were gonna.
So you were kind of almost under him doing it.
Well, you know, he's right around the corner and on the podium, and we were right back there hooking up all the tanks. A lot of fun.
Did you have to do a lot of odd things like the CO2 thing because of the use of cars and gasoline and that sort of stuff?
Well, this was just for a reveal.
Oh, this was just the smoke that you were
Smoke, for the car reveal.
Oh, it wasn't because of fire.
Well, we always had to have, you know, even at auto shows, you had to have your CO2 tanks available.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you always had to have the CO2 tanks available. And you had to drain the gas.
Oh, you did?
You had to drain the gas, and we would drain the gas, and we would put cans. We'd put gas in cans, hook them up to the carburetor.
Well, that's how you drove the car?
And that's how we drove the cars.
Oh, well.
Then you took the tank off, the gas can off, and stored them during the shows.
So you had this little quart of gas or something that you're running off of.
I'll tell you a good one. It was in the Waldorf one time, and we had to CO2 the tanks, even after we were running them on the cans.
Yeah.
And we're going in this place, and we couldn't get the gas cap, lock and gas cap. Couldn't get the lock and gas cap on.
Okay.
So you know how we got the lock and gas cap on? I crawled under the car with 2 credit cards and pushed in the buttons and released the lock and gas. And then we get upstairs, we run in this elevator. In the Waldorf, the show was on the 4th floor.
Okay.
And we right up on this elevator, and some jerk had put in a 5-gallon container of ice cream, and he picked it up, the bottom come out.
Oh, God, big mess.
And they said, well, come on, get this car off of there. I said, I'll get this car off of there when you get the chocolate ice cream off the elevator. I said, I'm not going to drive through that, put this car out on display.
With chocolate tracks all over the
Why,
place.
sure, it'd be all over the tires. And oh, boy.
Must have had a lot of interesting little happenings over the years.
Oh, a lot of, you know, like New York. New York Auto Show. You heard the old song, New York, New York.
Yeah.
If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
We would go in there at midnight on Wednesday to set up a display, and we'd have to be ready by 5 o'clock on Friday. Now, it'd take us 5 days to set this up in Detroit.
How could you do it in a day and a half?
Well, you just hired more people and worked right straight through.
Oh, I see.
And in New York, they had 17 unions
Oh, my
that you worked with.
Who dealt with all those folks?
Well, when we went out and set up shows, we'd hire a contractor who furnished us with people, but we had to do the setup. We'd send our own people, like I would go to New York, take 2 men with me. And we would set that up. And you make arrangements for the riggers and the teamsters and the carpenters,
All
and
of the
electricians.
different kinds of guys you needed to make it happen. Huh?
Right, right.
Oh, my gosh.
And drapers, you got to get your framework up around.
So you really couldn't do anything yourself?
No. Oh, once in a while you might do a little electrical.
Yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah.
But you had to hire help at all these places we went. The only place that they let us help set up was when we did a dealer show in the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. They let us help them. Other than that,
All you can do is wave your arms.
years ago, and I'll tell you this one, we used to be able to help. And the first show I ever went to down in Chicago, and that had to be like in 52 or 53, I guess, we had a turntable quit working. And I went down from Lansing with parts. And here come this redhead calling out from under the turntable. You know who it was? Gordy Osborne. He was a DM then. But we used to do those things, but they just... We did the first show in Coble Hall with the dealer announcement show. We had the theater was over at the Ford Theater. And we had teamsters and riggers and carpenters, electricians, and we had a turntable. Well, of course, the base of that turntable was metal and what have you. And we had talked to the people prior, what do we need to get this turntable set up? Well, they said, we'll hire a composite crew, which is be a couple riggers and 3-4 carpenters or whatever. Thank God they got ready to do that turntable, and the rigger said, we're going to do it. And we said, hey, wait a minute, you're not going to do it. You're going to work together, it's a composite crew. Well, one of the riggers and the teamsters got together and hauled the pie sections for the turntable out away. So we called the people, and then the 2 business agents come in, they said, okay, we'll work this out. And finally, and then the stuff came back and we put it together.
What a hassle.
I said, well, if you don't want to set it up, we'll just leave it out. We won't show it. We'll just show the cars. But they finally, the business agents, come together.
Gracious son, Jack.
Oh, you ran it all kinds of those things. But we always got along. And Tom Hendy was my boss, and some couple times I got a little huffy. Tom would say, just remember this. You got to come out of this place. So don't get them too PO'd at you. You always remember that. Tom was a great teacher.
Did Tom do most of the yakking with business agents, or how did that?
Well, when he was the
when he was the director?
when he was the boss,
whatever you call it,
manager.
Manager.
He was the manager of the exhibit display department. Right, yeah. He did it, and then after he retired, I did.
So when did you tell me he retired?
1973.
73.
And then I had it till 84.
84, that's when you left. Okay.
Yeah.
What happened during those bad years, like 58 was a terrible year for money. That must have been one of those years you only had 6 guys or something.
Well, we didn't get hit too hard back then. But it was when we had the gasoline crunch, energy crunch.
73 or 4.
The first year I took over,
Yeah.
we were down to 12 guys. And all we did was and back then, 4 of the guys were running the tour trains and the bus.
Didn't leave you much horsepower left over, did it?
No. Well, we had a painter and a couple, 3 carpenters, and sign man, and tour train drivers.
Did you guys end up painting cars
Oh, yeah.
yourselves over there?
Oh, yeah.
Why would you do that?
Well, if they wanted cars repainted or something, why we'd do that.
But you would use a production car and still repaint it?
Yeah, right. Right, and we paint the old cars.
Oh, yeah, the antique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And but we did all the repair work on the show jobs. We do all the show jobs.
Is that because a production paint job isn't show quality, so to speak?
If you have you know how it is at the car, you have a scratch or you have something that's very conspicuous. Out on the final paint or wherever, they would sand it out and paint it.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have a great big blob.
Yeah. Donut or something.
Yeah, right. We didn't call them that, but
I know.
And but when we would repair something, we'd paint a whole panel.
Oh, okay.
We'd paint the whole
So
panel.
you kind of sand that back out and
Right.
start over again.
Right. Right. We would paint the whole panel on those. Yeah.
How was the place over at Novo Engine? That was an old structure?
It was an old structure, but it worked out fine for us because we didn't have the third floor problem with the elevator and all that stuff.
Yeah, true.
And we had a place to store things. You know, we used to store stuff over the reel. We used to store our displays and stage stuff over the reel. Hauled back and forth.
In the old factory, or?
Yeah.
We rented a piece of the old factory?
We rented a piece of the old factory over in the back of the old hall there.
Oh, the administration building?
Yeah.
The old clubhouse?
The old clubhouse, yeah. Oh, yeah. Before that, there was an old barn out on 78 where the corner of Waverly and 78, or Main Street.
Okay.
And we used to have stuff in there.
All right.
We used to have the old cars in there.
Really?
And another time we had a McKish's place out on the north end. We had stuff all over everywhere.
You might not be a very safe place for the cars.
No, but we had them there. Used to drive down in there. Oh, yeah. But it was good. It was good, Tim. Met an awful lot of people
Yeah.
all over the United States. And we do the GM building, an announcement,
Yeah.
go down the night before. As soon as they quit work at 5 o'clock, haul all your stuff in there, change all the cars, set up the displays. Got to know a lot of people.
Did you ever get tired of all that trotting and running and chasing and that sort of stuff?
Never did.
Never got tired of that.
No. I was still ready. As a matter of fact, we still go to shows.
Oh, do you?
Tom Hendy and
Get it out of your blood.
Janet and Joe and I go to the Chicago show every year.
Uh-huh.
And last 4 years now, we've gone to Vegas
Okay.
to the dealer show.
Can't get it out of your blood.
We go down to Chicago Auto Show for 3-4 days. We go to Vegas for 4 days.
Uh-huh. That's nice.
And we go down to Detroit.
Yeah.
We just drive down there for
Yeah.
one afternoon.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see Clay Mueller in that Buick display. Did you go down this year?
No, I was gone
They,
someplace. I don't know where that was.
they had a bunch of their things there and did a Riata.
Yeah, built one, didn't they? They were assembling one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. See, GM had their big exhibit there, and then they had part of that right next to it.
Okay.
They didn't have room for it in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the GM exhibit in Chicago, but they had the big one in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all those people down through the years still communicate with some of them.
How about, see, we talked about Wolfen a little bit. Other general managers that you got involved with, speaking wise, or those kinds of things?
Never had nothing
Did they
like
do
that.
those?
No, nobody else did the speaking thing and what have you.
Nobody practiced like that?
No. Maybe Metzel would go over and run off a couple of days, but that'd be it.
Mm-hmm.
We ran into Metzel. Well, he sat with us at the dealer show. First year we came out with a new Tornado,
Mm-hmm.
the last one. And they wanted Metzel to sit with somebody he knew. So we sat at a table there and we walked together over to the car display, and then the rest of us walked in the door was this new Tornado sitting on a turntable. I said, well, Metz, what do you think of that? He said, we look more like a goddamn Ford every day.
A lot of truth to that. They all look alike.
Hey, was he? Buddy, he was good.
Uh-huh.
Howard Carroll took Metz's job, remember?
Yeah. Or Belts.
Or was it Belts?
Yeah, Belts.
Yeah, Belts,
Then-
okay.
Then Carroll.
But we were having one of our new car shows for the advertising agency, and we had a windshield. It had a whole bunch of dirt down in the corner of it. And I got in there and was scrubbing away. And Howard Carroll walks up and I says, hey, when you going to fix these things so we can clean the inside? He says, you better learn how to do it because it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Ooh. Uh-huh. Okay.
And Bob Cook was a great guy.
Okay.
Down in Chicago Auto Show, we had a black car one time.
Yeah.
And the deck was bad, and I've got some rotten stone, and I'm rubbing on that deck trying to bring it up.
Yeah.
Somebody come up and tapped me on the shoulder. Says, you know, if you wouldn't order black cars for these shows, you wouldn't have to do that. And I turned around and said, Bob Cook. I said, you know, Bob, I don't order these cars. These dealers in the Chicago zone order these cars. I didn't have nothing to do with it. Yeah. But we used to do the show jobs, and of course, the dealer announcement. We'd have these. C&J had 2 vans, and Sober had 2 vans. And we'd use those buggers to haul them cars, closed vans.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You just hope and pray they were all right when they got there. One time, we had to put some weights in the trunk of a car to bring it down. Somehow they didn't get out of there.
Mm.
By the time we got to Texas, we went from Atlanta to Texas.
Oh, no.
The whole right rear panel was all bumped
Yeah,
down.
but it shut back and forth in the trunk and just slid back and forth. Oh, God.
We got a hold of the zone boys, John Bach. Hey, John, you've got to do us, this is at Fort Worth. He said, you got to do something. We got to have some help. And sure enough, I worked all night and got that back there 10 minutes before showtime.
You had to go to some guy's body shop and then bong it out?
Went to a dealer.
Yeah.
Went to a dealer, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did that often.
Did you?
One year, we did the show in the convention center in Las Vegas. We built the whole stage, built the stands, all the curtains and everything, set up the ramps. Every time this one car come off the stage, there was a dent in the rocker panel. We go there, look, nothing, couldn't find anything how that happened. Well, one day I sat right there during the whole show, during rehearsal. Off come this car. Well, they had one prop that they'd move in there. And as soon as the car was off, they'd move it back out, see? And put it back. And that's what that was doing.
Who was hitting the prop?
He was hitting the one prop as he come around the bottom. That was the only year we ever took painters with us.
Oh, really?
And every night, we had the painters working and fixing that car.
Touching up that stupid dent.
Yeah, you'd have to ding it out and sand it out.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Couldn't get that prop thing fixed?
Well, after I sat there and found out what was doing
after
it,
that. Yeah, okay.
then we were all right.
Yeah.
But of course, stagehand didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim, gee whiz. When we got over to Porter Street, and it was a whole new ballgame. They put in the paint shop, they put in the welding booth, we had the little art room, we had this trim room, and then we decided we'd have to have a lady over there. So they put in a new toilet.
We didn't have an outhouse, so yeah.
And they eliminated the trim room, made that the office for the lady. And then Bob Jarbo moved over there with Monica.
Okay.
And we had Jarbo and Monica over there, and that's when the other offices were built in the place. Because, Paul Smith and old Monty Montgomery was in there. Dick Weaver was over there. We had all different kind of people in there. After that, they built that office that I used for my office.
Yeah.
For Jarbo.
Oh, did they?
Tom kept the office up in the corner.
Oh, did he?
He always wanted the office up in the corner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But that was a little harder to heat.
Was that building heat okay?
Oh, brother.
Did you have your own boiler or something?
Had the own boiler, but you had to hire somebody to run it. And you know, all the lines went kaput, and in the back end, we had to put gas heaters in.
You can never get any steam out there?
Well, we couldn't get any steam out of it, right. The lines all was shot.
Oh, my.
Oh. One time we had a flood going down through there.
A flood? Where'd that hat come from?
Downspout went out.
Oh,
Oh, boy. One year they had to get snow blowers up there and take the snow off the roof. That year we had that heavy
Oh,
snow.
that 2 feet of snow?
Yeah.
Afraid it was gonna collapse?
Yeah, but they said, actually they said that building was safer than a lot of others, the way it was built.
Yeah.
But they did have them come in with some snow blowers and throw some of that snow.
Yeah. They got a lot of wood in that old building.
Yeah. We had a lot of things in there. Those old cars there.
The old cars, Jack, over the years, what did we have to do to those babies to keep them going?
What did we do? We just did the best we could.
I mean, you have to overhaul them and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, a couple of times we bought another one, used parts for the old 4.
Okay.
Yeah. One year it came back off of the GM tour deal, all buggered up, smuggered up. I had a lot of work in those old cars. Rebuilt the whole woodwork in those things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, the year I left, just after I left, they had the 10 out for something, and they blew the radiator. I don't know what they were doing. They blew the radiator out of it.
That's the big limited?
The big limited, yeah. I don't know whether they still got that 1990, what it belonged to Barney 13, was it?
Yeah.
Barney somebody.
The limited got ruined, you may have heard.
Oh.
Yeah. They sent it down to Busch Gardens and they left it outdoors for
Oh, boy.
3 months or 2 months. And I guess
Is that, well, I can just
Ruined.
imagine what happened to the wood and everything.
ruined the
in there.
wood and the steering
Oh,
wheel and
yeah.
everything else. It was just a basket case, I guess.
People don't realize those things. You know, when John Peltz was the chief engineer,
Mm-hmm.
he took the 1950 back.
Got a nice yellow one.
Yeah.
Yellow with a black top.
They put new tires on it, fixed it up, and he drove that one summer.
Like that car.
Yeah, he drove that one summer.
Of 4770 Fernie Street in Holt. The recording was made by Jim Walkinshaw at the Oldsmobile History Center at 4000 North Grand River in Lansing on June 18, 1990. This is tape number 2 of 2 tapes.
What about Old Scout? Or Old Steady, or whichever one that is?
Old Scout, Old Steady,
Is that the one we got? We got one of those over there?
Old Scout.
Old
yeah.
Scout.
Yeah, that was one that went on the tour.
Now, all of those didn't run, did they? Every one of those old cars run?
At one time or another, they did, yeah. We used to run them
Did you try and keep them in running order then? Or just as need?
as needed.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to put any money in those things,
Yeah.
you know?
Didn't they get stored on the roof for a period of time? Of 64?
No.
So I got a picture of them up on the roof of 64.
Well, they must have been up there temporary because,
Good, good.
see, like those, we stored those at Rio over to Kish's,
Yeah.
and they were out there at that barn. I went to work there.
What a place to store old cars in a bunker.
Yeah. We had some great goings on over there at Quarter Street.
So the move over there wasn't so bad then?
No. Of course, we had ADT.
Yeah. Did you ever have any theft problems or people breaking into the place?
Once somebody got in the front end.
The office?
Yeah,
the office
didn't
area?
set off the ADT.
Mm.
I lost a Polaroid camera and lost a few other things.
Well, how's it going?
But other than that, why? Of course, my Polaroid camera wasn't covered insurance.
Yeah, probably not. It was yours, huh?
But that was about it.
Mhm.
We'd had ADT over there. There must have been birds or something would get in there, and they'd break the beam at night.
Mm.
And one time I broke the ADT. We had a show going downtown in the auditorium, and I went back to get something. I went in the side door,
Not thinking.
and I didn't call in and tell them I was going in.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I got in the morgue, I got a microphone and a swivel and what have you. I was just going out the front door. I realized I'd blown it. And here stood a guy that wasn't as big as you with a 45 in his hand. Waiting.
Ooh.
I said, "Hold it, mister. I work here. Please call plant security, confirm this." I said, "Here's my, don't you reach for that," he says. And I told him who I was. Finally got it straightened out. And when I went out the door, Jim, there was police cars on all four corners of that building.
No kidding. They really descended on him, huh?
I never did that again. Boy, that made you think. But this little guy, I said, "Oh my God, that gun looked as big as he was." Oh. Yeah. We had, we had oil in that boiler.
Oil-fired boiler?
Yeah,
Oh.
that was something else.
I mean, it wouldn't work, or?
We finally ended up scrapping the whole thing,
Oh, really? Replacing
putting
it
in all the gas.
with gas?
Yeah. I ended up putting in all the gas
Mhm.
fields. And that was a barn to heat.
No, it was awful. I suspect that old building was kind of leaky, wasn't it? The air and everything came
Yeah.
through it?
You had all them high bays, you had
Yeah.
3 high bays in there.
Yeah.
They had glass up in there.
Yeah.
Every year you'd go around trying to tighten up those windows. They all worked off of chains.
Mm-hmm. Ever find any old Novo engines sitting around?
Never found anything.
Never found a thing.
Yeah.
See, all your guys that worked with you over there, were they members of the UAW or something
No,
else?
no. They were members of the Carpenter Union.
Oh, okay.
No, we had to get out of the, when you went to work for the sales department, you were not represented for the
Okay.
UAW. So we were not represented, but in order to get our displays into the auto shows and what have you, you had to join the Carpenters Union and get a carpenter plug on them.
Oh, how'd it go?
Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't even going to set us up one year down in Detroit. Finally came through. And
Because you were part of the UAW at that point in time?
there weren't anything.
Nothing. Oh.
Nothing. But you couldn't be UAW because you had to be in the Carpenter Union.
Mhm.
I forget the number of that thing, but
But you had to then negotiate your own little contract, so to speak?
every year, every 3 years,
Yeah.
they would do labor relations and then would do the UAW first, and then they called us a splinter group. The Ford's plant had some,
Mhm.
plant security, and we. So then we'd have to do it afterwards,
Mhm.
sit down there and get all particulars.
Did that cause any unique problems, or did that work out fairly
It
well?
worked out very well. It was pretty much cut and dried, you know what they're going to do, because they had already just put it in for the UAW.
UNS has just copied their contractor, they did.
Mostly, yeah, right. Yeah.
How did they handle the long hour days and all that stuff that you guys put in, the 24-hour days and that kind of crap?
You did them.
But did union guys get upset about that sort of stuff?
Oh no, they knew what we had to do. Guys that worked with us, they knew what we had to
So
do.
they'd all bought into that, so to speak.
And if we had to work those hours, we worked those hours, which we did lots of times. Yeah.
Did you pay them the overtime? Is that how you handled
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah. You get regular time and a half.
Yeah.
Sundays were double time,
Yeah.
and holidays was double time plus
Plus
paid
the holiday.
holiday. Yeah, right. First year I worked for Tom Hindy, we started working overtime. The day after Labor Day,
Yeah.
we worked right straight through. That's when we did the dealer shows in January.
Yeah.
We worked right straight through till the dealer shows, Christmas and New Year's.
No time off.
New Year's Eve, I was loading stuff off the elevator on the trucks. And the next year, we was going to do the same thing. And Bill Mahoney says, Tom Hindy, nobody's going to work Christmas this year at Oldsmobile.
Oh, so you shut them off.
So he shut us off.
Uh-huh.
But oh boy, we used to work awful hours.
Uh-huh.
11 hours a day, 5 days a week, and 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, God.
Unless you had to work more.
Unless you had to work more. How did you guys keep up under that? Seems like it just be all fagged out.
Just kept doing it. And when the break came, you enjoyed it, right? Yeah.
What, during strike times, did your guys
We kept right on working.
kept right on going?
Yeah. We would talk with the president of the union, and they even let us work in building 64.
Oh, did they? You could
Yeah.
come in? Huh.
Yeah. I remember one year we were working with styling, and two of the fella down far, another fella come up, and we had to get something out of 64, and we went over there, and I told the guys who we were and showed them our pass. They'd give us a pass.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, sure, you go on up. And Farr says, my God, he said, I can't believe this. He says, we have trouble even getting in down to the tech center.
Yeah. Lucky. I guess we were lucky. We had very good union.
Yeah, you betcha. But we had a lot of things we did there.
Yeah.
I used to say if they couldn't do it anyplace else, why, bring it over to the display department, they'd do it.
Yeah.
We did a lot of trimming, you know,
You did a lot
especially during the crunch time, because they wouldn't buy any furniture or
Yeah, I was
anything.
gonna say, I remember you making great big tables and
Yeah.
reupholstering chairs, and how much of that kind of crap did you do?
Oh, we did an awful lot of it there they're still doing it,
Yeah.
but during the crunch time, it was an awful lot of it there.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, we had 2 more guys that learned how to do trimming. Yeah. Oh yeah, we had some nice tables that we built.
Oh, how a firm I got.
Yeah. Well, and we had some out of wood. I forget that one table we built for oh boy, dealer councils.
Mm-hmm.
We used to set up the dealer council in the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 3 legs on that thing, and each one was built around for a seat for 36 people.
What'd you do with those things when you got done with them?
I don't know what, that ended, part of that ended up over in building 33 somewhere.
Oh,
Part of that ended up in 33, I forget where it went,
Yeah.
over there somewhere. But we used to store it, you know, and use it once a year.
pull her out.
Yeah. Once a year we use that bugger. But that was a beautiful thing.
So you had some pretty good carpenters and
Oh yeah.
machine guys and that kind of stuff.
That's some good craftsmen.
Yeah.
You bet.
Ever have any guys that weren't happy with that kind of work that you had working with you over there?
You have them once in a while.
Where they decide they're,
Well, if they couldn't cut the muscle, you didn't keep them.
yeah,
Couldn't cut the muscle, you couldn't keep them. And there, the last couple of years that I was there, when we needed extra help, we got guys that came from the forge plant that were laid off and had to, I don't know if they still do that or not.
how'd that work?
Well, we put them to work on what they could do.
Yeah.
Put them to work on what they could do. We had a couple of machinists come over there from the forge. One welder. I seen the night they spent all night welding on stuff for displays, but heavy, they gotta go out. I don't know how they ever did it, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
Golly. All night welding on an aluminum stand. You know, that's something else. But it was a good place to work.
Yeah.
It was a good place to work.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, Bert Farrington was our clerk.
okay.
And Bert was knowledgeable of all these old cars and everything. And he kept track of everything for us.
Mm-hmm.
And he run the stock, the equipment. Kept the covers up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we lost him, see, I lost him and Lou fell at the same time.
No bit of a problem.
Oh, boy. We really struggled. And we lost the gal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I lost the gal in 73.
During the
74 in the
yeah,
crunch.
Yeah.
So Bert came up the front end and did everything then.
Mm-hmm.
They were going. We were scratching, trying to keep things going.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody had to figure out what you were going to buy, and somebody had to go buy it, didn't they?
yeah. Well, yeah, that was another thing. Purchasing department.
Yeah, okay.
You know, when you're building displays, you're running on a deadline. You got to have it
Right.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of time we take that stuff over to purchasing, purchase order. And they would send it out for 3 bids.
Mm-hmm. And 2 months later,
And when we didn't get the stuff, they'd start calling, well, when are you going to, well, that's out for bid. I said, hey, wait a minute, bring it back in and get something. We got to go. We haven't got all day. So finally, we got straightened out with it. Radke was the worst one.
was it? You was the stickler?
Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
But it got so, if I had something real important, we'd have a man hand carry it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them when we had to have it, and I'd call and talk to them. But boy, for the longest time, we were hurting.
That's a shame. Didn't you just have open accounts with places to go get stuff?
No,
Mm.
no. I did with picture frames.
Did you?
On silver lead.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was going to say places like Silver Lead or Capital City Lumber or you need oak or something.
Whatever,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But that was it.
You worked for the sales department, all those?
That's correct.
That's where they were out of, weren't they?
We were out of sales.
Did that arrangement work okay? Being part of the sales organization?
Yeah,
That was the place to be, so to
Evidently.
speak, with that kind of task?
that's what we did.
Even though you made things for other kinds of people,
Well, you
Chamber of
know,
Commerce get-togethers.
Probably 50% of our work was outside of sales.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right, right,
Public relations and other guys.
yeah. Yeah, personnel,
Mm-hmm.
different things.
Picnics, did you get?
We did the picnics.
Picnics thing too?
Yeah, we did the picnics. All that stuff for the executive club.
Mhm.
Outdoor club,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what else can you think, Jack? Any other unique little experiences that might be worth capturing?
Oh, I could think of a lot of things, but I don't know whether they're worth capturing or not. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Years ago, we used to do the stockyard inn for the Chicago Auto Show. Our exhibit was up on the second floor. So you had to put everything up an elevator. And the little guy, hunchback Harold, that run the lift truck. Ford had more money to pay off than we did. So that little guy, when he got through with everybody else, he said, well, maybe we can do you now, Jack.
Really? You had to pay the sucker off, huh? Or did you get anything happening, huh?
We used to do, the years we did the dealer shows in New York, when they were doing them in the Coliseum, you had to go down and pay the cops off. So they let your trucks park there while you was unloading, waiting to unload, whatever. You ever see Jim, wouldn't that scare you? I can't say it.
That's okay.
But he was Sisson's zone manager in New York. He used to be the zone manager down in Atlanta.
Harsat.
No,
No.
Harsat was a car
He
distributor.
was someplace else.
And, he was in Atlanta. But
Anyway,
it was his job to go down and pay off the cops.
pretty bad, Jack.
Well, we ran into that. That last year that I was on a dealer show, we did the show at the music hall. And we did the car display at the Hyatt, Grand Hyatt. We had the cars there getting ready to go into the Grand Hyatt. We had them on the bottle seat. And the fire marshal says, those tanks have got fume in them. You got to take all the tanks off. Not the fire marshal, but the building. So we took one tank off. Well, that's a lot of work, you know, out there
Oh, yeah, middle of
in the alley,
Yeah.
waiting by the loading dock. So we took one tank off, and then the other, he went home, and the other guy come on. $400, the best $400 I ever spent.
You paid
We
me
had
400
18, we had 18 cars go in that place.
Uh-huh.
We'd never gotten them in. I went home with one of the service reps and got tools and everything. We took one tank off. This guy come out and says, let's go have a little talk. So we did. But jeepers creepers. The guy said, well, this hotel's got a lot of people in there. If one of them tanks ever blows up, you're going to blow up the whole place. But we had the cans drained.
Yeah, plus it really
And
doesn't.
we had them on cans, but he wouldn't have no part of it.
They wouldn't let you just fill a tank up with CO2.
Well, you fill it up with CO2, but that wouldn't make him happy. But he went home and we got that straightened out.
Was that more prevalent years ago than it is now, or was when you were?
Well, that was in '84.
That was '84.
That was
Oh, God,
'84.
that was recent.
Or '83. Last year I was on there. Yeah, oh yeah, it's
So that never went away.
money talks, let's face it.
How'd you handle that on your expense account?
I let the zone worry about it. I let the zone worry about it. So put it in your dealer announcement account.
Yeah, right.
I didn't have that much money to give him at the time. So I took the assistant zone manager and I said, let's go talk to this guy. Oh, you ran into that. It's like twice we were shut down in New York at the auto show because we didn't have a bug on our stuff. We never had a bug, label on our stuff. Tom Henry said, we don't have any labels on our cars, and we aren't gonna have any on our displays. So twice they shut us down, because we didn't have any bug on it. Of course, a couple of phone calls, everything was going again. So I went down and saw the business agent the first year I got the job, and I says, now listen, twice you shut us down because we haven't got any bug. I said, we've never had a bug, we don't own a bug. And I says, our local is represented out of Battle Creek, and I numbered and who the agent was and everything. I said, now how are we gonna work this out so we don't get shut down? If you know, even a half hour when you shut
sure.
down that New York show, you got 18, 20 guys standing around.
Plus you're losing time like mad.
So he says, let's go to the bar and have a little talk. I bought him one drink and we never had any problems after that.
One drink
Can
was...
you imagine that?
Oh, gracious sakes.
He says, let's go to the bar and have a little talk. And we did. And I bought him a drink and told him, explained everything. You will have no more problems here.
Amazing.
Just can't believe these guys.
Interesting, Jack.
What else you need to know, Jim? Is that
Oh,
it?
you're doing a nice job. Covered it, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
One year the dock filled up, the loading dock,
Filled up with what?
with water. Rain come rolling in there.
This was over at
Porter Street.
Porter Street?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. There's no drain in the bottom of it?
Yeah, there's a drain in the bottom, but the sump quit working. What a mess we had that day.
I can imagine. What do you got stored in the well? Anything? Was there
No,
anything
no,
stored
it's just
in it?
where we unload and load
Yeah,
trucks.
so it wasn't anything stored in it?
Only thing was in there was the trucks.
Mhm.
But luckily they were up above the,
Yeah, so they're high enough so they didn't get all wet.
but that place, we just had all kinds of things. One time we had trouble with the ADT, and the new man come in there, and he was banging away on it with a little hammer.
Mhm.
I said, God, to help you, and I'll get you a bigger hammer.
Sounds like General Motors.
And do you remember when the ADT fella got hung up in the tank over at the plant too?
Oh. Oh, the big tank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got hung up in there. Well, he was one of the guys that normally made the inspection there, and I told him that next time he came. Jack, he says, you ever tell him that again, I'm going to kill you. He says, I have to fix these things. Oh, brother. You betcha, Jim. I think we better get out of here.
Okay. We'll shut it off.